Okay. Hi guys, just a quick introduction. Thank you for watching video or attending the session today. My name's Harvick Jones. Everyone knows me as H, and I'm the founder and director of Kaya Responsible Travel. Some of you will see me on campus occasionally when we are all on campus. So hopefully I get to see you in person at some point soon. I'm going to share with you today a presentation just to introduce you to us at Kaya and the programs that we've got to offer. So let me just share my screen and make a start on that. So just give me a second here. Okay, can you see that?
Yep.
Great. So we'll carry on then. Okay, so just to proceed here, we are Kaya Responsible Travel. I'll start with telling you just a little bit about us and what we do. We are a responsible travel organization with a focus on community and environmental development. We were established in 2009, so we've been sending participants abroad for about 12 years at this point. We have a mission, which is to promote sustainable social, environmental, and economic development, empower communities, and cultivate educated, compassionate global citizens through our responsible travel programs. And a bit of a brag here, but we've won a number of awards for our work, including we are twice gold and 3 times silver medal winners of the Best Volunteer Abroad Organisation as awarded by the British Youth Travel Awards. And I think this is a real reflection of our ethical approach and the support that we provide our participants as they enter and go through our programs. So what do Kaya provide? What kind of programs can you actually sign up with us? So we're a specialist in experiential programs and cultural immersion in non-traditional destinations. I'll speak a little bit more about where that is in a minute. The programs that we have are our internships, our virtual internships, our service learning volunteer programs, and our study and service program. And as I talk through this today, guys, I'll speak a little bit about the programs as they are currently, how they are in the future, so that you can understand what your options are, both in this age of COVID and if you're looking to do any of these programs in the future when maybe that's over as well. So I'll touch on that. What makes Kaya so special? Why would you choose to go on a Kaya program? We think that there's 3 things that really make us different. The first of these is our project matching abilities. We know that every Kaya participant is unique, and we work with every individual to match you with a perfect placement, with around 200 placements in about 30 locations for you to choose from. The second thing is our ethical approach. So we're leaders in the field of ethical community engagement, ensuring our participants are welcome, useful, prepared and supported in placements that are locally led and sustainable to maximize the experience for travelers and host communities.
H, I don't mean to interrupt you, sorry. I don't think that your presentation is progressing. It's just, It's frozen on my screen as welcome to the world of responsible travel.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Why is that happening? My screen sharing is, oh, hold on. My screen sharing is paused, apparently. Resume share. Oh, there. I don't know what happened. Okay, so let me just see if I can progress that a little more. Okay, can you see that there now?
Yes.
Fabulous. Okay, guys, I won't repeat that. Thank you, Caitlin. I'll finish with the third one of those, which is that we're by your side from beginning to end. So providing support from our first contact until the day you return home to ensure a safe, personal and effective program. And just to cap that off, we do think that we've got a little secret ingredient, which are our Kaya core values. And just very quickly, I'll touch upon those. We say that with every program and everything that we do, we have 6 core values that we always align with. One is about doing good in every way, so seeking to do good for people and the environment. Embracing the challenge of keeping it real. So we talk about trekking the path of authenticity, bumps and all, to show you to the real world. We have a bursting passion. So this isn't not just a job. Every Kaya team member really live our values inside and out, and we really enjoy sharing those with the world. We talk about being the voice of the people, really listening to all the voices that need to be heard as we visit communities, as we travel to different countries, and as our participants participate in our programs. We say we have seriously good humor. We're always looking for the joy and the challenge. Some of our programs deal with very heavy subjects, but we're always looking for a really positive way and the humor in it and how that joy in our programs brings to people. And if you're a Frank Sinatra fan, we're a little old ant with a rubber tree plant. And with that, we always say we have high hopes, where each person might be small, but together we really can achieve something together that makes a difference. So where in the world do CAIA programs run? As you can see from this map, we are all over the place in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. So what we're always doing as we're looking to do that project matching is to try and find the locations that are most of interest to you, that whether you're interested in doing urban environments or more rural environments, especially from a conservation perspective, and also thinking about things like language. If you're interested in Spanish, for example, Latin America has some really great options. A lot of the Asian and African countries operate in English, but also have local languages that you can get involved with as well. But it does mean that there's a host of options open to you, regardless of where you want to go. So let's start with internships. What does an internship actually look like? So first of all, it's a placement within an organization that has a social or environmental impact. That's something very key to CAIA's programs. Wherever we place you, that is going to actually have a positive impact in the world. And from an academic perspective, that really could be in any area, from microfinance through to communications, through to agriculture. There's a lot that you can get involved with, but you're doing it in a company that has a positive impact. You'll do challenging, meaningful work in your area of interest. So again, matching your academic area with the kind of work that you're doing. And that work will be challenging, not just making copies or, making coffee for people. You'll have a project supervisor to guide your placement. So that's a kind of one-on-one situation where that supervisor is guiding the work that you do, evaluating the work that you do, and helping you progress. And then alongside that, we have a site team that provides all of the support in terms of cultural orientations, reflections, a lot of local expertise, help you really get to know the local community, help you with your accommodation and all of that kind of stuff, pick you up at the airport, etc. So you've got those two individuals that then, well, I say individuals, sometimes more than that, a team that is able to help you. And we provide safe, vetted accommodation in all of our locations. That can be anything from communal houses where you live with other participants. It can be host families. If you're participating in some kind of research work, then it may be actually out in an environmental station or something of that nature as well. And all of our internships are 4 to 12 weeks long. We do actually have the option to do that a little bit longer if you need that from an academic perspective as well. And they start throughout the year. All of our internship programs have an ongoing, generally like one start date a month, for example, and you can start any time of year. So whether you're looking to do that for the summer, for the fall, or the spring or beyond, then there will be start dates that will be able to accommodate to your timings. In this age of COVID, obviously we have some reduction in the locations that we're opening up, but all of the locations that we are opening up have been very carefully screened to make sure that not only you as a participant are safe, but also that our host communities are protected from us as we enter into there. So there are some stuff like quarantines and that kind of stuff we've put in place, but it's still very possible, and some really, really great internships that are open to you in 2021. Couple of examples here. Riley from Iowa was participating in a health and medical internship in Vietnam. She was a pre-med student interested in orthopedics, physical therapy, and movement. And she was in Ho Chi Minh. And she told us, I got to experience occupational therapy, physical therapy, acupuncture, and a few orthopedic surgeries in the 4 weeks I spent at the hospital. Most of my time in occupational therapy room was spent working with a child patients with cerebral palsy. Each patient also had family members that were with them and helped them along their journey. One of the most amazing things to witness was the community aspect to their culture. I learned a lot about how the culture can affect healthcare, and I feel I found something that I'm very passionate in. Another example here is a social work intern in Ecuador. Jessica from Michigan was a Spanish major. She was looking to pursue a master's in social work when she joined the Supporting the Survivors of Gender-Based Violence and Human Trafficking project. And her placement worked with the local social worker, helping organize workshops for survivors, basically living in a safe house. She had to find a lot of creative ways that were working to help these girls build their self-esteem and all of that kind of stuff. And she arranged a few hiking trips with them, which was one of her highlights. She told us it was so beautiful to have my group of girls encouraging me and each other to keep going, to get to the top and have a blast along the way. So how can you benefit from a Chiro internship? First of all, getting real world work experience. You're working within a real organization doing real work that actually is contributing to the advancements of that project. You're learning from the experts, so in their fields, and developing a network of professionals within the field that you're working. You're working on an impact project that makes a real difference within an organization that can really put your skills to work. And you can experience working in a different culture, preparing you for multicultural work settings and future global work opportunities, as well as helping your resume really stand out from the crowd when you're going in to apply for jobs or for further med school or further academic studies and that kind of stuff as well. And people really see that on a resume and want to hear more. So really getting you those interviews and getting your foot in the door. And finally, just getting to travel and immerse in another culture, which is so different from experiencing travel as a tourist. So let's have a quick look at virtual internships and what they look like, especially if we're not traveling. And in the meantime, these have been really, really popular in the last year. Our virtual internships are actually placements within exactly the same organization as you would go to if you were actually going in person. But the work that we're doing is just a little bit different. You're doing work that can be done online, stuff like research and putting together workshops to deliver, helping the programs advance. And actually at this time, they've actually found that they need even more help than ever. The same thing about having, the project supervisor to guide your placement and a site team to provide cultural orientations and workshops. But instead of you being on the ground and doing those, we're doing those remotely. And with that, being able to do workshops on things like we're still doing cooking classes and dance classes and learning about some of the history and the traditions and that kind of stuff. Alongside the workshops, we're actually doing them buddy chats. The buddy chats are really fun. They're local students who are interested in discussing and comparing their worldviews and experiences. So we've had buddies talking about, relationships, whether it's with their families or actually how locally you date and, how you hang out with your friends and that kind of stuff as well. They're a really great way to have, I guess, what would be the coffee shop chats if you were really in the country. Those are 8 to 12 weeks long. They have two start dates in spring, 2 start dates in summer, and 2 start dates in fall. So again, with those, they're more set start dates, but you do that with a cohort in that way, participating in all the workshops and stuff with a cohort, and still, being able to get so much out of that. We found that a lot of our virtual interns are actually doing their placements and then really falling in love with that country and actually following up with a trip once travel then, becomes available to them or later, even if they just do that for a short amount of time, or they go and do an in-person virtual internship afterwards. And that's been really, really popular, especially because we do help with a lot of discounting on the programs if you end up going in person. A couple of examples of this. Olivia from Indiana did a virtual health placement in Ecuador. She's a public health student who worked on a project for a women's health nonprofit. She designed a campaign to reduce the level of teenage pregnancy in the region, and she actually contributed to an important funding proposal that actually raised enough money to help them run the campaign at the end. She told us, my ultimate goal is to be a practicing physician, and this has been a perfect mix of observing, learning about clinical care, while also learning so much about the public health, education in general. Another example in Morocco here was Grace from Michigan. She was studying French and linguistics. She wanted to use that French language as she worked with the refugee center in Morocco. And she developed classes to help promote employability amongst the refugees at the center. And she told us, choose a country where you want to get to know the culture and the people that you're working with. If you come into it only looking for work experience and forget that an important part of that is engaging with people, you won't get as much out of it. Wanting to get to know Morocco and the organization I'm with has made this a super enjoyable experience all around. So again, virtual internships, something that people weren't participating in a lot before now, have actually become really, really popular, and we've had really great feedback from our participants. On the screen here, these are just exactly the same things as we talked about for regular internships, the benefits that we talked about, but additional ones include learning about the country and the culture from locals remotely, but still developing a relationship with those local students. And secondly, developing those remote working skills, a little bit different from how you do it when you remote study, but actually being able to do the work remote. Employers are looking for that so much, especially after what obviously everything that's just happened. They're looking for students that when they're leaving university are able to work remotely from home, that have that self-drive and are able to participate in working teams, and being able to prove that by carrying out a virtual internship is really invaluable when it comes to job applications. So let's just skip quickly to what a service placement looks like. So service learning, volunteering, people use these words kind of interchangeably really, but volunteering with an element of reflection and really understanding what you're helping with is how we see service learning. It's actually very similar sometimes to internships. Oftentimes we're even placing people in similar or the same organizations, but there is a little bit of difference. The internships are a little bit more individually focused on your skills, and you have a supervisor one-on-one, whereas as a volunteer, what you're doing is working more in a group of people that are supporting local staff in progressing the sustainable goals for the project. And in that sense, it's a little less individualistic, but it's a really great option, especially if you just want to get a view of how something works in that field. Maybe it's health, maybe it's something like microfinance or something of that nature, and you get to see how that works. Sometimes volunteering ends up looking a lot like interning, whereas interning should not necessarily look like volunteering. But in terms of on the ground, we have all of the same support, the same team providing all the cultural orientations, reflections, local expertise, all the same accommodation. But you don't necessarily need any existing skills. It may be even that you use this to explore an area before you go on and study it, for example. And this is just a bit more flexible in terms of timings. Generally, most programs are 2 weeks plus. We have a couple that even go as low as 1 week on that one. And they can extend for as long as you like, generally up to 12 weeks long, but we do have people staying a lot longer or doing back-to-back placements in different locations. Example of this is a sustainable building program in Belize. Taylor from Michigan was working on this to build sandbag homes, working on a sustainable farm. She was also working to run environmental workshops on the sustainable farm there. And she told us, I felt like I was really able to use this volunteer trip as a way to refine my environmental knowledge. I learned so much about environmentalism in general and about Belize environment and culture and people and history. I felt that I really picked the correct degree and career. And she was just a sophomore, and she was actually looking then, it really cemented her thoughts that she wanted to do this and go on and study it more. And again, early years education in Bolivia. Caitlin from Iowa was interested in child education when she volunteered at the Children's Center in La Paz, a daycare center that's run by women of the village. It takes about 100 children in every day from the community while their parents go to work. And she worked with the teachers to create an early years English language learning program. And helped obviously take care of the children as well. And she told us it was such a rewarding learning experience to go and try new things done in different ways than I've seen done at home. And how do you benefit from Kaya service placement? There are a couple of elements that are the same as interning here, definitely standing out and immersing in another culture. But there are some extra things in here contributing to really make that impactful difference in a similar way. But really developing really valuable soft skills, decision-making and adaptability, cross-cultural communications and teamwork. So the same things that you would also get in an internship, you can really get from a service placement as well. And doing something different and meaningful, especially if you're doing this in your spring, winter or summer breaks, as an alternative to what you might regularly do in those breaks, coming and doing a service volunteer project can really show up as something different and meaningful to do. And you really meet interesting people from all around the world. So that's always a bonus as well. So final thing here is the study and service programs. What do these look like? These are really interesting, and especially in 2021, as we're looking at now. This is something that is probably going to be our biggest area this summer. There is a study and service program that we're running in Thailand, so I'll speak in the context of this. And what we do is we enroll you at the local university, and you complete your studies and get the transfer credits in the way you might do a regular study abroad program. But at the end of that, you actually have a placement within a volunteer or internship project in the same way that I just talked about there. So basically it's combining the best of two worlds, where you can get the study aspect of it, but also that cultural immersion that comes out of that practical experience as well. And so all the same things as that I've spoken about before, site teams to provide you all that expertise and the accommodation and all of that kind of stuff. Those have a slightly longer minimum time. Our summer program, for example, you study for 4 weeks and then you stay doing your volunteer placement for as long as you like, from 2 to 8 weeks extra. So you can basically build that program as you like. As I mentioned, this summer we're doing Thailand study and service. Thailand actually is a country that has not been particularly affected by COVID. They've got very, very strict entry rules. So we do have like a quarantine time that when you start off, but the way that they're doing that is that actually you'll do those studies from your quarantine. And so you're actually getting on with those classes so that by the time that those couple of weeks are over, you're able to then just go about your business in Thailand, and it really is quite opened up in that way, which makes it a really great destination for 2021. And then in fall, we are going to be launching a Ecuador study and service program, which will be for the fall semester there, and that will have an environmental focus on the studies that we're doing there. The Thailand study and service one has a business and culture focus. The Ecuador one will have an environmental one. And then obviously looking into 2022, we're going to have a lot more opening up there in terms of our locations, and we can share those with you as we reopen those ones as well. Natasha from New York did the study and service in Thailand previously. She spent her summer studying Thai language classes, and she told us the classes were really interesting, but also it was really great getting outside the classroom and getting to interact with local Thai people. My highlight was seeing almost every member of the community participate in tree planting day, and I got a great appreciation for a different culture and an understanding of the importance of the green and clean environment. How do you benefit from Kaya Study and Service? Again, we've covered a lot of these. It's a lot of the same stuff because obviously you're still doing the internship with a volunteer placement, but additionally, you combine that classroom study with a real world work experience to get the best of those both worlds, obviously with the transfer credit. And then also, earning those credits from a really quality institution, which is where we're always working as well. So what do University of Wyoming students need to know? Just to wrap up here, guys, if you're interested in the Kaya program, first of all, speak with a Kaya advisor. Tell them you're from the University of Wyoming. We know how the system works that way, and we can give you all of the advice to make sure that we're getting all of your paperwork done and all of that kind of stuff. And as I mentioned, we work one-on-one with you always to make sure that you've got the right program in that way. The next thing you would do then is meet with an Ed Abroad advisor, such as Caitlin, who will then take you through what the systems are within UW's education, within the university's sort of education system. And this is really important, especially if you're thinking of doing an internship, but getting UW credit for it. Something like that is also very possible. We work with your department. The Study Abroad office is great big advocates on that one, and they will do whatever they can to make sure that those internship placements can actually gain you credit while you're doing it. So again, reach out to these guys. They're super helpful to make sure that happens. And Caitlin's email address here is on the screen if you don't already have that. Apply with UW before you submit your Kaya application, and you can tell your advisor that I just need to get my approval through UW before we submit that. We can also have you start on the paperwork at the same time, but not commit you to any financial element of that before you get the application. We know how it works. We need that approval before you guys can proceed. And then once you've got that, speak to the Kaya team, apply for the approval with UW, and then before we do any financial commitments, so we know that we're all set. And then as I mentioned, whether we're earning transfer credit on the study and service program, or whether you're doing UW credit, then there may be some paperwork that we need to complete to make sure that we are checking all the boxes. Maybe we have to look at how many hours you're doing or something like that, and we'll make sure that we build that into your program as we start to finalize that. And basically that's how it would work. Yeah, there's a lot of choice. I think that's maybe some of the hardest decisions, is to just round it down. But again, I think if you start the conversations with us and with the Ed Abroad office, that we're able to give you an awful lot of guidance of what you can and can't do. And as I say, there's a lot to consider, especially in this current environment. But the great news is that University of Wyoming is supporting students to go abroad in summer of 2021 and in fall, and we will work with you to make sure that that is done in a safe, supported way, and that there is a way for us to get out after all of this time being locked down and having to stay in one place, that there's really it's a great time to do these programs. So with that, I will finish. Oh, either way, still register with EU. And actually, that was one important point. Even if you decide to do a volunteer placement and you just want to do it in your break, it's still actually really important to register with the Study Abroad office, because actually they can still give you some help, even if you're not doing this for credit. So for example, support with getting your travel insurance and that kind of stuff as well. So don't even worry if you're not doing it for credit. You should still let these guys know. They will still help you. So with that, if there are any questions, feel free to drop us an email. It's just info@kayavolunteer.com, or visit kayavolunteer.com on the website. Yeah, we would love to connect with you, and hopefully we will hear from you all very soon and help you get abroad and do all of the things that you've dreamt of. So thank you, guys. I'll leave it at that.
And for those of you who joined after the presentation started, if you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself or pop your questions in the chat. We'll be happy to answer those. Go ahead and stop recording.